everyone. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I just filmed part one where I talked about the books from longer series that I got into because of booktubers. And now I'm going to talk. Part two will be about books that I got into that are part of duologies and trilogies because of Booktube. So, this first one, actually, this might have more than two books. I don't know. But this one, I found The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. I found this one at these bookstores. It was only like $2-3. And it's funny because the person that I remember talking about this book said they did not like this book. They hated this book, especially the romance. And that is Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. But for some reason, I decided, you know what, I'm going to buy it. Because it kind of makes me think of Gone with the Wind and its epicness. It's just set in Russia instead of the U.S., the south of the U.S. So, and I'm sure that none of these characters aren't anything like Scarlett O'Hara. But there was actually another booktuber whose names, I don't remember who it was, that later, at some point, I watched her video where she talked about how much she loved this book and how great it was. And I think she was also the same booktuber who persuaded me to get Roses by Leah Meacham. So I should have brought that book down, but I'm too lazy and I don't want to go grab it. Where is it? It's over. I have another shelf over there with books that are more set in medieval times in America and nonfiction. That's right. So I think she was the same booktuber who talked about that series, persuading me to get that series as well. Or, it's not a series actually, but it does have a prequel to it. So I decided to go ahead and check this one out. And like I said, it was only like $2. So, it was like, even if I don't like it, oh well, I didn't spend a lot of money on it anyway, so. But yeah, I can't wait to read it. And I love historical romance. And like I said, my feelings on romances are like, I don't want to get the ones that you can buy like at Walmart or like, at the grocery store or the airport or something. Although my mom said she feels like those are a little different because like certain places have, like the ones at like grocery stores and stuff like that, I think she says she feels like they have the best. I think those were the ones that she said feel like that those places have best sellers usually. But doesn't mean I'll love it even if it's a bestseller. Yes, maybe the whole world loves it, everyone else loves it, but not necessarily me or, But, I don't really go for although when I went to I work at a grocery store and I've seen some of the books that have been talked about on Booktube, like Dark Matter. I've seen that there, and of course Stephen King books are there as well. But that's why I don't like recommendations because, my friend Terry's who loves reading romance, she's always trying to persuade me to check out romance and give it a shot because I'll try to get her to read books like Agatar, and what she is, in her defense, she is reading that one. And I'm like, no, I don't want it. I don't like those books that you can get, like those kind of books, even if they have fantasy, even if the guy's a vampire or angel or a fae or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I have no interest in those. But I will read books like this. It's hard to explain exactly what I want. That's why, I am a little picky. So that's why I don't want people to directly recommend, unless I'm watching them talk about it, and it sounds like something that I'm kind of interested in. So there's that one. It's only one. Next. This is a particular series that, again, I don't know, I can't pinpoint who on Booktube it was out of the booktubers I watch, but this is the second book in the Remnant Chronicles. I read the first book, Kiss of Deception, recently, and I just started to. Oh crap! The bookmark fell out. I'll have to go find that. I don't know where it is. It's a weird little bookmark thing that I have for this. I don't know how to use it, but it fell out. I'll have to find it. Well, at least I remember I'm on chapter 4, I believe. So I don't know who it was, which booktuber it was that talked about this series, this trilogy, but a lot of people talking about it. Finally, I jumped to the chance and bought it. This was such, and I really enjoyed the first book. It might have been Murphy Napier who convinced me, who persuaded me to get it. I don't remember, but because I know recently she's reread it, and she's talked about how great it was, how much she loves it, and how she actually, like, a lot of people do not love the first book, Kiss of Deception. I guess they kind of find the whole domesticity, cannot say that word, domesticity, I don't know, it's, well, if you can figure out what I mean, they don't like that aspect of it, I think they find that part of it boring. But I remember Murphy Napier saying that how much she loved the first one and loved that aspect of it. And she talked about the second 2 books, how each one focuses on something else. Like this, I think this was the one that she said kind of focused more on. Oh, wait, no, oh, never mind. I didn't lose the bookmark because this is actually the 3rd book. Never mind, Beauty of Darkness. Okay, never mind. So, it's all good. I didn't lose the bookmark. I think I have the second one over there on my desk. Which, like I said, I started that one, so I'm on chapter 4. See, with YA books, I get through a lot quicker. Because the chapters are sometimes short. Sometimes they're long, and it's very fast-paced. So this is the 3rd one, and I think she described this as being more war-like, more about war and stuff. And the second one, Heart of Betrayal, is kind of more politics and political maneuvering and, romance and people being clever and manipulative. So, yeah, this is the 3rd one, Heart of Beauty of Darkness, while the second one is Heart of Betrayal, and that's the one I'm currently reading right now. So, like I said, I think it might have been Murphy Napier who talked about how great this book was and how I should read it. No, she didn't say I should read it, but she was the one who persuaded me to check it out. Next is Petroglyphs is the name of the one. This was Reagan from Peruse Projects who talked about how great this book series is. And so I finally jumped to the chance and bought it, and I also bought the second one, which I still have not read because the 3rd book has not come out. But I love this, and I love the character of Quoth. I know a lot of people don't like Quoth because he very much is, talks about himself, and, how great he is, how perfect he is. But because Quoth is narrating his own personal story to another person, so of course he's gonna, as Sam from Thoughts on Tome said, of course he's gonna talk about how great of a person he really is and how talented he is. But I just love this story and getting lost in this world. And this was the handful of longer books that I got into, that I finished. So, yeah, I am so glad that I took Reagan's advice and read this book. And I can't wait to read the next one. Which I don't know when that will happen, but okay. So, this is the second book in a trilogy, I believe. This is the same author who wrote the Diviners trilogy, which I have not reread. I want to. This is historical fantasy, which is one of my favorite things. I love historical supernatural stories. Sorry, I just ate dinner and I got a bit of we had corn on the cob and I have a little piece bother me. I have trouble getting out of my teeth. And I know that Haley from Brooklyn talked about this series, but I think the person that talked about the series that got me to read it was Jean from Bookish Thoughts. She talked about how great this book was and how actually it was her first time reading something like this, I think. She doesn't normally read this kind of stuff, so she read this one, and she talked about how great it was, and how amazing it was, and I even, yesterday when I went to Books A Million, I did see the other books in the series, so I thought about getting them, but I decided to not get those. But I cannot wait to read this. I don't know when it will happen, but I hopefully will read it soon. Okay, next is another one that I don't remember who specifically it was, that talked about this book that made me decide to buy it. But a lot of booktubers talk about how great this book is. This duology. It's a duology, I believe. And it's basically these two sorcerers competing to be the enchanter for the emperor or the king or whatever. So they kind of compare it to being like the first book in the Thorn of Glass series, Thorn of Glass, where Selena is competing to be the king's assassin. So it kind of has similar elements to that, except for they're magicians. Well, actually, if anything, they should, although at the time when this came out, it probably couldn't, that didn't exist either, but this is kind of like, the second book in the Shades Magic trilogy. You could compare it to that, because in that second book, they have a tournament, a magic tournament where two people are competing. Where people are competing, but they're not competing to be the main enchanter. But anyway, it's a Russian-inspired setting, I believe, and I don't know who it was that recommended this one, but I definitely want to read this. Like I said, it's a duology, and I almost bought the second one, but again, I had to narrow it down, and this next one is a book that people are bringing up again a lot more recently, because the author just came out with a third book in the trilogy, and that is An Ember in the Ashes, which I think, though, I bought this book before I heard that the third book was going to be coming out. So, but it was one of the, I don't know who, again, this might have been one of those ones that was talked about a lot on Booktube, but there's not one specific person. But, or maybe there is and I just don't remember. But I remember seeing that, I saw this at Books A Million, and I was like, because actually I think it was one of these things where this was the one I thought that would be a movie. I thought that they were making a movie for this one, so I bought it because I remember a lot of booktubers saying how great it was, and it wasn't this one, but I still bought it, and I'm still gonna read it. And I still hear a lot of good things about the series, about this trilogy. And like I said, the author just came out with the third book, the final book, The Reaper at the Gates, and one of the books I did buy yesterday was the second one, with the different cover, the new covers, because I'm not one of those people who gets, who will buy a book just because I have to have matching covers. I personally don't, I'm not bothered by that. So, next. Okay, so again, another book that I don't know who specifically, which booktuber, but Stalking Drac the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. Like I said, I don't know which booktuber, but a lot of booktubers have talked about how great this is. I think Julie Sapphire is one of those. And I say her because recently I watched some of her videos yesterday. I think she talked about how great it was, and I think I already said in this video that I love history mixed with fantasy. I think that concept is so cool, so fascinating. I love reading about that. Although, I don't know, I guess, no, actually I don't think this is really fantasy. I think it's more like historical adventure, or I don't know, maybe it's not. Actually, I don't think it is fantasy, now that I think about it. But although there is a little bit of supernatural element into the second one, because it's hunting Prince Dracula, and Dracula is a vampire. But this one is Stalking Jack the Ripper, where this woman is, I think it's in the 1800s or something. And of course, in this woman, our main character, she's a bit of a scientist type, and of course, being, in that time period, that's not acceptable. And she is like obsessed with Jack the Ripper. And this is during his reign, so she's trying to figure out who he is. And like I said, I don't know which booktuber. Okay, so this next book is a Reagan recommended book. This is The Rook by Daniel O'Malley. I don't know. From what I remember, I believe this is kind of like supernatural TV show, but with but mixed if like the British men of letters, like if it was their story, and they were like Sam and Dean. But well, I don't know. I'm just guessing. But from what I've read in the description, it's like this woman who, she wakes up surrounded by like bodies or something, and she receives a message from her future self saying, you can figure out and try and remember who you are, or you can walk away from this. But if you try to remember to figure out who you are, well, then you're going to get the whole package, and you can't go back. So I cannot wait to read this, and like I said, and this was not a library book, but I imagine it was originally from the library, but this was at the used bookstore, so that's why it does have the cover, the plastic covering, which I want to take off so badly. But yeah, this was one Reagan from Peruse Projects talked about how great this book is, how much she loves it. So I'm going to read this book soon. Oh, I hit my thumb. Next, this is another book that I don't know who specifically it was. Maybe it was Reagan, maybe it was someone else. But this is from the first book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, and it just seems like it was such a cool concept. I really enjoyed it. I've already read the first two books, and I did buy the third and final book, but the author, I do believe, is writing more books in this realm. Not with these characters, but in this universe. But it was such a cool concept, and I got really excited, and I finally bought it, and finally got into it, and it's so awesome. It's so much fun. And like I said, maybe it was Reagan from Peruse Projects, maybe it was someone else. I don't know who recommended it, who I decided after watching that I would get it, but this is just so awesome. And I really enjoyed it. Okay, next is Crooked Kingdom, the second book in the Six of Crows duology. Again, maybe Reagan from Peruse Projects talked about this, or no, wait, actually, no, it was Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. She is a huge fan of Lee Bardugo. She loves Lee Bardugo. One of her favorite trilogies was the Grisha trilogy, and she loves Six of Crows. And I think she said that duology is even better than the Grisha trilogy. But yes, I love Six of Crows. It was so awesome. I had such a fun time reading that book. And now, I did start reading this book, but I'm being steady in my reading of it. So, I do need to get back into it. But this is a bit of a heist story, but most of this first book is introducing the characters, and there's lots of planning going on, so there's not a lot of action. There is action, but not a lot of it. Just a warning. And so far, this has a little bit more action in it, and I am enjoying it so far. It's definitely very interesting. It's just, again, I had to take a little bit of a break from it. And like I said, I don't know, like I said, I'm guessing that it was Sam from Thoughts on Tomes that recommended it. that she was someone that talked about the Grinch trilogy, and then I read that one, and then I had to read Six of Crows. Next is another V.A. Schwab book. I've not read her YA books yet, which she goes by Victoria Schwab in those books. And I just this is put over here because originally this was a standalone, but she's coming out with a sequel to it. And this is basically, if you take X-Men, and especially like First Class X-Men, and turn it into a novel. Those versions of Charles and Eric. This was so cool and so much fun. I love this book, and I think it was Bookables that finally sealed the deal for me, because I told her when she talked about how great it was, I told her I was thinking about it, and she said, you should go for it, go get it, it's so great, you'll love it, and I did, and she was right, I loved it, it was so much fun. And by the way, I'm sorry, I don't remember your first name at the moment, so, but yes, I loved it, and I enjoyed it, and I'm definitely, okay, so next, this was another Sam from Thoughts on Tomes recommendation. Although she says you should probably have all 3 books in the trilogy, because this is a bit, not people are going to be totally caught off guard and not necessarily like these books, this first book. It's like a parody, or satire, or whatever, of fantasy books. Dang it, I just realized this is one of those books where they have those fake stickers. They look like stickers, but they're not. And I almost bought the second one, because I have the third one already. I just need to buy the second one. I almost bought it yesterday, but I decided not to in favor of another book. But this is so awesome. I can't wait to read this series. They said it's a Sam from Thoughts on Tomes recommendation. She talks about how great it was, and I love the TV show, so I am a little aware of this universe and how the people are in this universe. So, that might help. And the last one I have here, this was one that I think I just heard a lot about on YouTube, on Booktube, and I saw it at a library sale where my sister lives, at her library where she takes her son, for $2. So I went ahead and bought it, because it was only $2. And it sounds really, at first I got it mixed up with These Broken Stars when I was telling my friend about it, the book when I had just bought it. But no, it's not. And actually, it kind of reminds me of, actually, that movie is called Passenger, I think. It kind of reminds me of that Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt movie, and I want to say it's called Passenger. I don't know. But it's a sci-fi story where these people are cryogenically frozen and sent on the spaceship, and then she wakes up, and I should have read this book again. I should have read the back of this book again. But yeah, it's a trilogy, and it sounds just really interesting. And like I said, I think it was one of these things where I remember hearing about it on Booktube, and then I saw it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy it, because it's only $2. So I bought it. And then it's a trilogy, so I will read it, and then I gotta get the next 2 books if I love it, so. Okay, so those are my trilogies and duologies that I got because of Booktubers and Booktube. So, stay tuned for part 3, where I will talk about my books that are standalones that I bought because of Booktube and Booktubers. So if you like this book, if you like this video, please be sure to give a thumbs up and click subscribe if you have not already. And stay tuned for part 3. And to all my already subscribed, love you guys, and continue to enjoy your reading. Bye.